All right, guys. How's it going? Sorry that I was late. Um, took a little nap before I came on here, and I slept a little too long. But I had to push the time back. But anyways, and also I was trying to figure out like my background and whatnot too from for the stream. I was just kind of going through a whole bunch of different backgrounds that I liked, and obviously I came up with this one, which this one's I like it a lot. Um, so yeah, so obviously Friday the 13th franchise, um, TV series talk, of course, as you guys know. Obviously, earlier was you guys already know. We did that stream at noon. That was a lot of fun. But anyways, yeah. So Friday the 13th, of course, as you guys know, the TV series obviously got delayed. It was supposed to come out this year, but it got delayed to next year for I don't know why. Maybe like scheduling issues, but it looks like it's going to be obviously pushed back to next year now. Um, that's what I'm hearing, anyways. But but yeah. So I mean, the TV series, which I really wasn't expecting it to be delayed because of I wasn't expecting it to be like delayed or anything like that. But unfortunately, it is, you know, got delayed, sadly. Um, so yeah, and I was actually looking forward to watching because we haven't had a Friday the 13th film since 2009, and I was looking forward to it. Just seeing because it's been a while since we seen Jason on the big screen. Of course, there's been like fan films and whatnot out there, but we haven't seen we haven't seen him like in a real we haven't seen like a real film since 2009 because of obviously the lawsuit. So so yeah, it's definitely going to be pretty interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of things that hopefully hopefully they do it right. Because a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows nowadays are just not as good. Um, but I'm really, really excited for to see this, back, And I was saying that even after the TV series, I'm pretty sure there's going to be like a film, um, which I've been saying that for. I just think that later down the line, I don't know how long we're going to have to wait. I think we're going to have to wait a little bit to get, finally get a movie. Um, which kind of sucks that we have to wait that long. But at least we got all these fan films. At least we got all these like young filmmakers, as I was saying, and they do a pretty good job. Like that movie. the Friday the 13th, Jason Takes a Hike. Now that movie, that fan film was really good. Um, and it was basically Jason in the snow. That's what it was. And yeah, it was pretty good. The filmmakers did a good job on that. Um, and then there was another one called um, Bloodlines, I believe, which that one was really good as well. Like they just do such a good job with. They did such a good job with these films, you know. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things that I want to see. Of course, I want to see. I want to see Kane Hodder back. All right, I feel like Kane Hodder is the best. I think he's like the best Jason in the entire franchise. And the reason why I say that is because the intensity that he brings when he does, stunts. He's like intense. You know, um, so personally, he's my favorite Jason out of any other. Um, like I liked what's his name, CJ something. I forget his name. Um, but I think Kane Hodder is the best. Like I just think that his intensity, all that, it just makes it. Um, I don't know. It just seems like to me he's the best. Let me see. Uh, okay, his name is at the tip of my tongue right now, guys, and I remember CJ Graham, I believe it is. I know his last name is Graham. Uh, yeah, CJ Graham. Yes. So, I mean, he was pretty good at doing stunt work for Jason, but I don't think that he was. I mean, he was good, but I think Kane Hodder's intensity made him like the best personally. Um, and I'm kind of upset, with Jason Goes to Hell. You guys already know my take on Jason Goes to Hell. Like Jason Goes to Hell to me is probably the worst like Friday the 13th film in the franchise, and I just was disappointed that they didn't really use him, that much. They basically like wasted him. Like he was like basically wasted the whole time, which he didn't get to do any stunt work, you know. Um, that's why I think that movie, you guys already know. I think that Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell is the worst in the franchise. That's because, again, Jason wasn't really in it, and number two, like why does it really matter if it's not Jason, doing the killings, you know? Um, so yeah, and I just felt like Kane Hodder should have done. They should have gave him more to do, And they didn't do that. Like it basically, I felt like they wasted him, which is kind of disappointing. Um, No, I don't really care. Like, I don't mind about like the mask and the look of him. Hey, I think the look. I actually like the look of Jason in that film. You know, if he was like utilized better, then I would have liked it even more. But since he wasn't in the film that much, that kind of hurts his hurts the ranking. Um, so, but I do like that look of Jason in that film. The jumpsuit, and I think that was definitely one of the best looks, probably behind Jason Takes Manhattan, or even the New Blood. But yeah, there's definitely no. I don't know, man. Like, I felt like if it was like a actual like Friday the 13th film, then if it was like a actual Friday the 13th film, then I wouldn't have hated it, for what it was. But it wasn't a Friday the 13th. Like, it wasn't, to me. It wasn't a Friday the 13th film because you didn't have Jason in it. I mean, okay, you get to see him for like 5 seconds, and then he gets blown up in the opening scene, and then basically like a spirit or whatever, he's like possessing other people, which is kind of weird. It's kind of like a possession film more than anything. It's not even a Friday the 13th film, you know. But I will say that I do like the soundtrack. Like, the soundtrack in that film, I think, is one of the best. And look, and the kills, okay, the kills were pretty good. They were graphic, you know. They were kind of fun to watch. But then again, if it's not Jason, doing the killings, even though people will say, well, Jason was possessing him, so it was Jason. Well, I'm just talking about Jason like wearing the hockey mask and like the jumpsuit, you know. I'm not talking about like real humans like us not doing the killings. Like, I'm talking about, if that makes sense. Because like Jason, it wasn't like they were wearing the hockey mask or anything. You know what I mean? So that's just my opinion on that. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I like the soundtrack. The soundtrack is pretty good. I like it. But, they should have done a lot more. They absolutely wasted Kane Hodder in that film. Like, I truly, truly believe that. They wasted him. And yeah, it's unfortunate that they wasted him because he just had, basically, he didn't get to do anything. He didn't get to do much. All he got to do was be in the film for like 5 seconds and then get blown up, and then come back at the end only to get killed. Like, so he didn't really get to do much at all, which to me is disappointing. So yeah, that film to me was not. I don't think that was a Friday the 13th film. That's just my personal opinion. A lot of people will say that it is, but I don't think it is. Just based off of the fact that Jason wasn't in it. I mean, that goes to show that it's not a Friday the 13th film. But yeah, it's okay. He was in it for 5 seconds, so Yeah, he was in it for a little bit. So I got to give him a little credit for at least putting him in the film for a little bit, you know. Um, but obviously they didn't, or they did. So they brought him. So he was in the film for like 5 seconds. Excuse me. So he was in the film. So I give him credit for them putting him, in the film because at least we got to see him. You know what I mean? So I mean, I guess that matters the most if you get to see the character for a little bit, even if it's for like 5 seconds, I guess. But yeah, that's just my I guess my opinion on that. And the overall franchise as a whole, I feel like it's a good franchise. There's really no bad films in there. The only bad film that, again, that I don't like is Jason Goes to Hell, which Jason Goes to Hell is always going to be probably the worst in my opinion. That's just my opinion personally. Like everyone, there's some people out there that may like it and may like put it higher than what I do, but I just think that based off of like from a Friday the 13th standpoint, it's not a Friday the 13th film, because Jason's not doing the killings. Even though he's possessing people, Jason's not really doing the killings, I don't think. So that's why the rankings, like when I rank it, that's why it's so like at the very bottom, um, like the last, like dead last. Um, and don't get me wrong, the kills, soundtrack, all that's good, you know. But again, if Jason's not in it, and if it's just humans basically getting possessed by him and they're basically killing people, okay, that gets a little weird, you know. Well, how's it going, Val's View? Thank you for popping in. I haven't seen much on Friday the TV series and what they're doing with it. Yeah, I've actually heard a lot of rumors. Um, I heard some rumors that there is going to be I guess they're going to be pushing it back because originally it was supposed to come. Okay, so it was supposed to come out this year, and they pushed it back to next year supposedly. But other than that, we have not got any news about when it's going to actually release. I mean, everyone's saying that it's gotten pushed back, which I think that's definitely I don't know what to think because obviously there's a lot of rumors out there, and if it's not confirmed by a real source, well, then I don't know what to believe. But we haven't got any news about this TV series. Like the only thing that we know right now is that it's going to be called Crystal Lake. And then obviously the OG actor from the very first Friday the 13th is going to be back in it. too. So it's that's all we really know at this point. But other than that, we don't know anything else. Like we don't know when the release date is going to be. Um, oh, we know what the when the release it's supposedly getting pushed back to 2025 to next year, which I don't know what to believe. Like everybody says something different, you know. I'm doing well. Great to see you back. Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I just had to, take a break for a little bit. I just felt like it was the right thing, to step away for a little bit. But I am back. I'm happy to be back and making live streams, doing live streams, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, we it's kind of weird because yeah, we have not seen any news. Like everybody keeps on saying something different. Like they keep on saying, well, it's going to come out this year. It's going to come out the next year. Um, but they can't really make up their minds, on I guess on the release date, if that makes sense. You know, like I don't know which one is true because everyone keeps on like changing. Like it's not really like confirmed. Everybody's just like saying, oh well, it was supposed to come out this year. Well, now that supposedly it's getting pushed back, which I just don't really know. It's confusing. So yeah, there's just a lot of rumors out there, and I just don't really want to believe a lot of things that people are saying. Like, is it really going to be released in 2025? Supposedly, that's what the rumors are. Uh, but they keep on basically like postponing it, which something that because I thought it was supposed to come out in 2023, but then they pushed it back to 2024. But now everyone's saying that it's being pushed back to 2025. So I really don't know what's going on. There must be like a scheduling issue or something, or maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's just all rumors. I don't know because I don't know what's true, what's not. Because anybody can make up rumors and just speculate about anything nowadays. So so I really don't know what to believe. But yeah, I'm just happy. Like I really hope that it does happen, which I'm pretty sure that it is going to happen. You know, I think that there's just been like scheduling issues, probably. Who really knows like what's going on? But there's something going on to the point where they have to keep pushing it back. Like, if they are really going to do the series, I would like to see a bit of a Pam and Jason's dad backstory. Oh, I would love that as well. Yeah, I would definitely love that as well. That's definitely, and also I want to. I think, yeah, Jason's dad is Elias. I think, yeah, that'd be cool. That would be cool to get, their backstory. Totally agree with that. That's definitely one of the things that I want to see. And also, I want to see like the time. I want to see Jason versus Tommy Jarvis. Like, but they may save that for like a real movie. Like if they make a real film like after, which I do believe that they will. And I think that I don't know. I just feel like that storyline, Tommy Jarvis, Jason fighting Tommy Jarvis. They could call it, Jason versus Tommy Jarvis or whatever. They could do like a storyline like that. But again, they may wait until they make a film and save that idea. Which I do think that they are going to make another film, like after the TV series. Maybe even while it's like the TV series is still going, possibly. But I would like to see anything Friday the 13th at this point. It's been so long since we've seen him on the screen. Yes, it's been since 2009, you know, 2009. So how many years has that been? 15 years. So it's been 15 years without a Friday the 13th film. Like, that's crazy. And if the lawsuit didn't happen, I think we would have gotten something a lot sooner, you know? But sadly, the lawsuit was the reason why it disappeared for so long. It's because there was like a copyright issue, I guess. So yeah, there was like a lawsuit going on there. But yeah, it's been 15 years without a Friday the 13th film, which I think that's like long overdue, too long. Like that's long overdue. I think you know I'm really really excited for. I really hope that this TV series happens, which I think it is. I think that it will happen, but I want to see a real film again as well. Like even if they do like after the TV series or during while they're like do you notice that they're actually making a lot of these like franchises into like TV series now? Like which is crazy to think about. Like the Scream was a, Scream was a TV series, of course. Chucky, a Child's Play. Um, Candyman, I heard, and now Friday the 13th. And obviously, I heard rumors about a Halloween one too, which I don't know how true that is, but a TV series might bring Jason back to life. The Chucky and Scream series have done very well. Yeah, the Scream series, at first it was kind of like, I don't know, it was kind of like, I think it was pretty bad, at first. But then as they went on, they started getting better. Um, I just felt like they did the mask and everything just didn't didn't look right to me. Um, but then they eventually changed that. So, and I heard that they weren't able to get the rights supposedly to the real Ghostface mask. Friday had a TV series back in the 80s, but had nothing to do with Jason. I actually heard that. I actually heard that there was one back in the 80s, which was interesting. Like, you know, I've actually read, yeah, I've read about that. I heard that it was like there's like a TV series around that time, which, wow, and it wasn't about Jason. That's crazy. Well, I really hope that they don't ruin this TV series. You know, I hope they do it right. Yeah, the first two seasons of Scream were good, but the third was meh. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I didn't like. I personally didn't like the first half. Like the Brandon James mask and just the voice actor. That's just personally me though. Like a lot of people like that mask, but I didn't like that mask at all. That mask was just. It didn't look like Ghostface to me. And just like the outfit just didn't really look right. It didn't look right to me. Just it looked like a rain outfit more than anything. Like it was weird. I used to watch it. It was about collecting up haunted objects. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy that you could make a series called Friday the 13th and not make it about Jason. Like, you know, that's insane. They may not be able to use Ghostface likeness for. Yeah, and I actually heard that too. So I guess it's not really fair, for me to say that. But I'm just not personally a fan of that Brandon James match. That's all. Even though, yeah, they weren't able to get the rights to the actual Ghostface mask. Um, but I don't know, the look of that Brandon James mask. It's just not. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of it. It's just again like the look. It doesn't really look like Ghostface. Like it really doesn't to me. But to be fair, like you were saying, they couldn't get the rights. So I mean, it's not really fair, I guess, for me to say that I'm personally just not a fan of it. That's all, you know. Wonder what version of Jason they'll use in the TV series. That's a really yeah. I'm really interested in that as well. I'm interested to see what like if they're gonna have like their like a different. They're probably gonna create another like version, probably like their own, like something like brand new that we haven't seen. Which I hope, or they may go with like the original. But this film is going to be called, or this TV series is going to be called Crystal Lake. I would like to see, like you were saying, maybe something about like Pam Voorhees or something, like Pamela, which that would be cool. Not saying like make her like the killer or nothing, but like I want to see like more. I want to see like their back, like even Elias, which we don't really know about him as much. Um, but yeah, I really hope that they do this right. Because I was talking about yesterday or earlier that movies nowadays are just not as good as they were back in the day. Like I don't feel like anyways. It just seems like there's no creativity now. Like sometimes it's like the same stuff over and over and over again. You know, and yeah, I just really hope that I really hope that they come back or that they do it right and they don't rush it. They don't do nothing like crazy with it because there's been a lot of movies out there that I feel like there's been a lot of movies that I feel like are not as good, just because just movies in general today are just not as they're just not as good as they were used to be. Uh, that's just my opinion on that. Like, because back in the day, you had a lot more like creativity, but nowadays you don't have any of that. So it's kind of sad to see. But I hope I really hope this TV series is good. If we get it, of course, because we don't know 100%, which I'm sure that we are going to get it. But again, it is kind of like a rumor at this point, I guess. because nobody knows what they want to do. Like the directors, and you know, there's always like some kind of like different news that comes out about about it being like pushed back again. So I have no idea what's going on. I don't know if it has something to do with, again, the scheduling issues. I have no idea, but it's very, very interesting. You know, I mean, I'm excited. I just want to see Jason again. On the big screen. I think it's been too long, like long overdue. But yeah, there has been obviously there's been a lot of speculation out there, a lot of like different news. And it kind of makes you wonder like what's really going on behind the scenes, you know? Like what's really going on? Like are they having scheduling issues? Or is this TV series not happening? You know? That's just my main question. Is this TV series actually going to happen, or is it just all just a lie? Is it all just made up and just a rumor? Um, which I don't really know if it's a rumor because I mean, it just seems like in a way it kind of seems like it is, but I don't really know 100% if it is. But I do know that I do want to see Jason back, on the big screen. And if they don't do this TV series, we'll just say that they cancel it or something, and they decide, to make a film instead. Well, I'll take that as well. Like I'll take that any day of the week. Like I don't mind a TV series, but it doesn't really mean as much as a real film, I don't feel. So I think that like I'll take that in a heartbeat. Like if they decide to make a movie, like an actual film. But TV series TV series are okay. I get they're not as, I don't know. I don't really find TV series to be all that enjoyable. I just like the actual like movies. But TV series sometimes though could be a lot of fun. But yeah, going back to you know the Friday the 13th franchise. So obviously you guys know I got the Screen Factory box set, which basically features like all the Jason films, all the Friday the 13th films. Um, and I actually got that on Amazon. It was like $100. Of course, you guys don't know, but Screen Factory just does such a great job with those box sets. It's just like the designs and all that. It's just like so well done, you know, and they just do such a good job with those. But yeah, I was it basically comes with all the movies, like, and it's all Blu-ray discs, like, and obviously there's like so you get all the films, and then you get like a bonus feature, which behind the scenes like interviews and whatnot, like But yeah, I basically got I got the box set. As you guys know, I've had it for over. I probably had it for at least maybe 4 years, maybe even 3 years now. I got it back in I think 2021. So because I just thought, I was just like, it's $100, but I wanted to buy it because I wanted to collect all the Friday the 13th films. Because that's what I like to do. I like to collect, horror films. Um, Even though there's some horror films that I don't collect, um, I don't collect any of the Texas Chainsaw films, which is kind of crazy. Not right now, anyways. Um, but I do. So I obviously collect Scream films, of course, Halloween. Even though I'm still yet to get the Halloween Ends DVD. So obviously, I collect that. I collect Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, Child's Play. But the only ones that I don't collect is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, which that's kind of crazy that I haven't, you know, got any Texas Chainsaw films, but which I may look into that, in the future, just look into like getting like a box set. But yeah, that Friday the 13th, Scream Factory box set is really well done. Just the designs, all that, it's so well done. Like nobody could beat that, in my opinion. Like nobody. Like the way it's just so well done. You know? And everyone always says, like, why does Halloween and Friday the 13th always get the better look at box sets? Well, the real reason why is because the real reason why is because um, I guess they're like bigger like icons and they're supernatural and they can't die, you know. So I think that's like the main reason. Which Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, you guys already know, I'm not a big fan of that film, but I do think I do think that Nightmare on Elm Street they should have did the box sets a little bit like way better than they have. I just don't feel like they look that great personally. Um, but yeah, I'm not really a big fan of that film, anyways. But like, I'm not a big fan of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. I mean, I am, but I'm not really like a crazy fan of them, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm more of like a Jason, Michael Myers kind of guy. Um, but of course, that's just personally me. Everybody has their own preferences. Um, But yeah, the franchise as a whole, the Friday the 13th franchise, I think it's really, really good, And as you guys know, my favorite, the most underrated Friday the 13th film in my eyes is probably, I would have to say, Jason Takes Manhattan. I just feel like Jason Takes Manhattan is just so hated on, And I just don't think it deserves a lot of the hate that it gets. Um, and a lot of people don't like it. The main reason why people don't like it is because it's on, one half of the film is on a cruise ship, and then the other half is in New York, which they kind of expected the whole film to be in New York. But honestly, I don't really mind that. I don't really mind the whole cruise ship thing because there were so many like good moments in that. You know, I didn't really like mind that. I thought that was really creative. Um, and I actually like the kills too, which the kills are really brutal. And that when they're on the cruise ship, then when they make it, when they get to obviously when they get to New York or whatever, it gets really like it gets more intense. Like a lot of people just don't really like it because the New York thing, but honestly, do I think it's one of the best personally. And I actually like that shot of Jason in that shot of him in Times Square or whatever, like he's just standing there. I like that shot. That's probably one of the best shots of, like in the whole. That's just my opinion though. Like I even like that scene when when he starts walking. Like, he's walking and he's like there's these people listening to the radio and he just like kicks it. That scene was funny. But yeah, there's a lot of I feel like it was definitely one of the best. I feel like it's the most unappreciated, And I understand that people wanted him to be in Manhattan, and I know they wanted him to be in New York the whole time, but I just feel like it's the most. I feel like it's the most underrated one. That's just my opinion. I think it was definitely one of the best. I actually liked, the look of Jason too, which that's another thing. I actually like the look. I think that's like probably like my favorite look of Jason throughout the whole franchise. I'd probably say Part 7 and then Jason Takes Manhattan. Those two looks of Jason are probably one of the best. But I think the Manhattan one looks really. I really like it. He's got like slime all over his like jumpsuit. I like that a lot. Thought that was creative. But of course, that's just my opinion. Everyone has their own opinion about. And a lot of people didn't really like they didn't really like the characters or anything like that. Which I actually enjoyed the characters. I thought the characters were well done, personally. And that's just my opinion. And of course everyone of course has different different like preferences. They, there's some people that may like the film, and a lot of people that may not, just because of the New York thing. But I honestly think that that film is just the most. I think it's the most underrated in the whole franchise. I just feel like that film gets too much hate. I think it's more like misunderstood. That's just my take on it. And then obviously you got Jason X. What Jason X is, I think, pretty good. I think Jason X is definitely one of the another underrated one that I feel like is unappreciated at times, just based off of just I don't know, like I just think a lot of people didn't really like that film because again Jason was in space, but the thing is though that the look of Jason in that film, to me, that I think that was definitely, I'm gonna say it, like one of the badass, like that look was the soul like badass. Sorry for my language, but like that look of Jason in that film was just, to me, one of the, a lot of people didn't like it, but because it was in space, and a lot of people didn't like it because also there's just a lot of cheesy moments in the film, which there's a lot of films ain't gonna be perfect all the time. That's the thing that people don't really like. Every film is gonna have some kind of like cheesiness in it. That not every film is gonna be perfect. So, but Jason X, I know that it kind of sounds a little weird, like thinking about that he was like in space, but I think honestly it's one of the best. I personally think it's one of the best. Like that look of Jason's just one of the best in my opinion. Like I think if I had to rank it right now, I would probably say that I'd probably put. So I'd probably say Part 7 and Manhattan are like my two favorites, right? But I think I'd put Jason X like behind the Manhattan one, maybe even before. But I think it's just that good. I just like the look of that Jason. Um, it's just like I was saying, like all like the steel and all that. It just looks to me really cool. Um, and I know there's a lot of cheesy moments in it, but I honestly find it to be entertaining. That's just my personal opinion, though. And I think that's another underrated one that a lot of people, don't really like, I guess. Which is just a lot of there's a lot of films out there that people may not like. Which I respect everyone's opinion because there's a lot of films that I don't like. Like there's a lot of films that I don't like at all. Like so I mean everybody has their own, I guess, like taste for like what they like, just like with music, just like with um all that. So I'm not gonna judge anyone for hating on a film. I'm not gonna judge anyone for that because everyone has their own preferences and their own tastes. So, um, but for me though, like Jason X is one of the best. Like, I think that's the more one of the more unappreciated ones, probably behind Jason Takes Manhattan. It's just like I was saying, Kane Hodder just does such a great job at doing stunt work. And then obviously Freddy versus Jason. I mean, Freddy versus Jason was all right. You know, I actually liked it, but the only problem that I had was that they weren't able to get Kane Hodder. That supposedly Kane Hodder. I don't remember what happens, but for some reason they weren't able to get Kane Hodder for that film, which is kind of disappointing. The look of Jason in that film too, I didn't really like. And that's probably like the only thing I didn't like about that film was probably the look of Jason and just like the stunt man. I didn't really care for that stunt man at all. I prefer Kane Hodder. So I thought it was kind of disappointing to not get Kane Hodder in that film. Like, and I don't remember what happened. I don't remember if it was because I'm definitely going to have to read into it, but I don't remember what happened. I don't know if it had something to do with money or I have no idea. But so however, Kurt Singer technically did play Jason as he took a bump from a cop car in front of the 13th. Jason Takes Manhattan because the production team didn't want to risk Hodder breaking his leg and delaying the rest of production. Yeah, a lot of people didn't really like Freddy vs. Jason, which, okay, like I understand some people are not going to like certain stuff, but for me, Freddy vs. Jason was, I think, well done. Like, even though I'm disappointed that we didn't get Kane Hodder during that time, which kind of sucked, that I would have preferred to see him in the film. But honestly, I really believe that I think if Kane Hodder was in the film, I think it would have made a big difference. A lot of people probably wouldn't have gave it as much hate as they did. And that was the only downfall of it. It was just the look of Jason, as I was saying, the stunt man didn't really. I don't know. I didn't really like the stunt man in that film. But other than that, I like crossovers. I like crossover films. I want to see more of them. I want to see more crossovers. Now they were supposed to do a couple of crossovers. They were going to do like a Michael Myers versus Hellraiser one. Supposedly like back. So this was back in like the early 2000s. They were supposed to do that. Um, but they didn't do it because obviously it didn't make, I guess it didn't make any sense, supposedly. Um, which I respect them for that, for not wanting to make it at that point, especially if it didn't make any sense. Um, but honestly, I think that I would have enjoyed it a lot, even though it didn't make sense personally, and I understand that. I totally get that. If it doesn't make sense, then don't do it. You know. But I thought it was a really like impressive like idea. You know, just because it's a crossover and you just want to see more of those, even though it doesn't really make that much sense. But yeah, that was originally going to be like the plan. So they were going to do like a Halloween versus Hellraiser, or a Michael Myers versus Hellraiser film, crossover film. Suppose like that was the rumor. They were actually going to do it, but they obviously canceled. And then obviously you had another one, Chucky versus Leprechaun, which that was supposed to happen as well, but they just, I guess, it didn't make too much sense. But I think that it would have worked out. I think it would have been good. You know? So I just want to see more crossovers. Ever since Freddy versus Jason, it just made me feel like we should have got more like crossover films. Like, and a lot of people don't really like crossovers just because they think it has to make like total sense, which I understand. Unfortunately, yeah, that's true. Like, it has to make sense. Like, the reason why Jason and Freddy were fighting, why they ended up fighting each other, was because, you guys don't remember, Freddy Krueger was I think Freddy Krueger was a counselor, I think. And if you guys don't know, like in the story too, like Elm Street is actually just around the corner from Crystal Lake, like in the story. So it's not even that far from Crystal Lake. So obviously they started fighting each other because Freddy Krueger was a counselor, and he's the one that actually drowned Jason when he was like a kid. So that's the reason why they did that, why that made so much sense, because it had like a build up to it. They had a build up to it. Obviously, Jason Goes to Hell. They showed Freddy grabbing his mask or whatever. Um, so they had like a build up to that moment. Um, which, yeah, you always have to have like a build up, which I understand that, and that's why a lot of people, the Michael Myers versus Pinhead thing. I said Michael Myers versus Hellraiser. I mean Pinhead. Like Michael Myers versus Pinhead or whatever. That wouldn't have made any sense because didn't have a build up to that. If they would have had a build up to that before or something like that, it would have made a lot more sense. But it didn't make sense because it didn't have a build up beforehand. So that's why they didn't, why they decided not to, I guess, do it. But that would have been interesting though, to see Michael Myers face Pinhead. But so there was a build up to it, you know. There was a build up to Freddy versus Jason, which is why they did it, because it was obviously in Jason Goes to Hell. They showed Freddy grabbing Jason's mask at the end. And going back to Jason Goes to Hell, I forgot to mention that's probably like the best scene in the whole entire film. Like in Jason Goes to Hell is when you see, Freddy's glove. Like that's probably like the best part. Other than that, so it's not a Friday the 13th film. But anyways, yeah. So they had a build up to, like, even though it took like over, so Freddy vs. Jason came out in 2003, and Jason Goes to Hell came out in 1991, I believe. 1991 or 1990. I think it was 1991 though. And it took them 10 years. It took them 10 years to finally make that film. But it was like a build up, you know. They did like a build up to it. They had like a build up. So even though it took them 10 years to finally get it done, finally make it, they had that build up towards that though, even though it took them that long, which is that's what they always say. If you're gonna do a crossover film, you need to do it like have some kind of build up beforehand. And the reason why Jason was in the reason why Jason and Freddy were fighting each other is because Freddy was the counselor, supposedly. And he was the one that basically, he was like one of the, well, I think he was the one that actually like drowned him too. So, and that's what people don't see what I'm saying? So there was a build up to it. Like there was a build up to that moment. Like, because they said that Jason was the one that drowned him or whatever. And they say that Freddy was the one that drowned Jason. And that Freddy was actually a counselor, which that makes a lot of sense. Freddy as a counselor. And it even showed it in Freddy vs. Jason. It showed him as a counselor. He was dressed up as a counselor and whatnot. So yeah, that's the reason why they ended up doing Friday vs. Jason, because there was a build up towards that moment. So that made a lot of sense because there was a build up. But other than that, there was But yeah, I think Freddy vs. Jason's a really good film. I think it's a fun film. It's just the the stuntman that I don't like. But how's it going, Scott Walker? He said, "Sorry, I'm late. Back now. I had to have a scan of my liver, so I'm home." Oh, how's it going, man? Thank you for popping in. Obviously, we're talking about the Friday the 13th franchise and talking about the TV series as well. Um, there's one thing about horror films I don't understand. How come they had so many sex scenes in horror movies in remake Friday the 13th? There's too much nudity in that film. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I don't think that we need too much nudity. And, like, I know Friday the 13th is a kind of like it's obviously like it's based on Crystal Lake. So, but you don't always have to have that. I felt like, the remake had a lot of that, like, probably a little too much. But other than that, I guess that's just the way it is. That's just the way. I mean, the remake is all right. I actually like the well, I actually like the remake a lot, but I agree with you on that. Like, I just feel like this is too much too much nudity in the, like, you know. You know what's crazy is that Friday the 13th is the only film that really goes overboard with all that, like, with, like, nudity and all that. There's no other. I mean, Halloween kind of goes overboard as well, but not as bad though as Friday the 13th. Like, Friday the 13th, I feel like goes, like, overboard at times. You know, I think Ghostface and Jason will make a great team at killing people. Do you think the cast from both franchises will be interested in doing a crossover movie? I don't think so personally, because Ghostface and Jason. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, I don't know if you mean like in a fight or something, because again, if they fight each other, it's not even gonna be a competitive matchup. Like, Jason's absolutely gonna just grab Ghostface and just kill him, just like that. So, but if you mean like them teaming up with each other, um, which I think that's what you mean, and that would be, I mean, I would be okay with that. But then again, I don't really know. I think Michael Myers and Jason would be better because they both can't die. Like, Ghostface could die a lot more, like a lot easier than. So I think that it would make a lot more sense to have like two undead, like, obviously Jason's an undead zombie or whatever, and Michael Myers is just basically like cursed, so he can't die. So I think that would be a great team there, Michael Myers and Jason. That would be, I think that would be a great team. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, yeah, I get what you meant. Do you think Michael Myers and Ghostface will team up a movie? No, I don't ever think that they will personally, because Ghostface again is just a human. He's just a real human, a person that just wants to kill just because like. And Michael Myers again is just like cursed, you know. I just don't think that makes sense. I think it makes more sense to have Jason and Michael Myers team up with each other. Either team up with each other or fight. I mean, I don't know which one. I would take either or. If they fought each other, I would take that as well. But I think them like teaming up with each other, that would be I think that would be like too much. Because obviously they both can't die. And I think that Jason is probably like the more like brutal. Like I think he's the more like entertaining killer. Because I feel like Michael Myers doesn't really do anything like creative, like rip people's arms off, you know, punch people's heads off, you know. He doesn't do any of that. So I feel like Jason's like the more like entertaining. But it would definitely be like too much if they teamed up with each other, like they both like were killing people like together. Like that would be I think that would be a little too much. But yeah, I do think that Jason, even though like I was saying, I do prefer the Halloween films over the Friday the 13th, I still I still find Jason to be more entertaining. Like in terms of like kills and all that. The way he like kills people, the way he's just creative, you know. Um he'd be doing like crazy stuff. He'd be ripping people's arms off. Um he'd be punching people's heads off, as I was saying. He'd be doing crazy stuff. And Michael Myers doesn't do any of that. All he really does is like strangle people, use like farming equipment, and that's basically all he does. But Michael, like Jason, though, is just like more brutal. I think Jason. A lot of people would say that as well. Like Jason's just the more entertaining because the way like, and that has to be hard, like to make a Friday the 13th film because all the stuff that you have to do, like in terms of like makeup and just, um, I mean, it has to be hard because Jason punches people's heads off, of course, and that has to be hard, to make it look like somebody's head is like flying off. Um, like crazy stuff like that, like ripping somebody's arms off or something, like stuff like that is like I think that's like hard to do if you're like a director. That's hard to do. So I think like doing like a Friday the 13th film, if I was a director, I think that would be a lot harder than doing a Halloween film because of that. Yeah, because there's just so many things that you have to do, you know. Um, like if you would have put like a rock in somebody's, like kind of like in Jason Takes Manhattan when Jason put that rock in that guy's stomach, stuff like that, ripping people's arms off. putting his, punching his fist into their body and all that. Like stuff like that is just those are the things that I'm talking about. Like those are the things that are kind of like difficult if you're a director. Like I'm pretty sure that's difficult to do to make it look like, to do anything like that. But there's a lot of a lot of intelligent people out there that went to college for all that. So yeah, I think out of all the films, like out of all the slasher films, I think Friday the 13th is hands down like the most difficult to do. Like if you're a director. Like cuz you got to make sure like everything's like perfect, Like because there's so many things that Jason does. The way he like kills people, you know. I mean, it's got to be hard to do. And I'm not saying that Michael Myers, because Michael Myers, again, he just only uses like his butcher knife and farming equipment. So that's not as hard as to where, in the Friday the 13th film, you have to do more like. But yeah, the Friday the 13th films are just, I think it's a well rounded franchise, I really do think that. I believe that it's one of the best. Definitely one of the best behind, the Halloween franchise. And a lot of people even consider it to be better in a lot of ways. Like, and I will say there's some Friday the 13th films that I enjoy more, but and yeah, the Friday the 13th franchise is more, I guess, entertaining. But I do like the Halloween. Like I've always preferred Halloween a little bit more, just because. Again, I just like the stockiness of Michael Myers. That's probably why I've always preferred him more. But other than that, I think Friday the 13th as a franchise is just more like entertaining. I think it's more entertaining. I think it's more just more like brutal, you know? Because there is so much things that you have to do in a Friday the 13th film, like in terms of like make it look like somebody's head is actually flying off, you know? It's just more, I just feel like it's more entertaining. Even though the Halloween films, of course, I'm always going to like those as well. But the Friday the 13th films are just more, I think they're just more entertaining because, again, he just does crazy things, you know? But yeah, and you know what's crazy about the Friday the 13th films is that they actually had the original idea was supposedly that Jason was going to wear that bag on his head. So basically, he wasn't going to have a hockey mask or anything. Like, he was just going to have that bag and that fireman outfit or whatever. Um, that was the original, I guess, plan for Friday the 13th. Like, for all the, like, that was going to be like his look, basically, before they decided, to change it to a hockey mask. Which I really wouldn't have minded it. I wouldn't have minded it either way. If they would have did that, I wouldn't have cared. But the hockey mask is just so iconic, and I think it just looks overall just better. But yeah, he was gonna have, like I was saying, like that mask, that bag over his head, and that was gonna be his original look before they decided to change it to the hockey mask, which is interesting. There's a lot of things that a lot of interesting things when it comes to movies. You read like articles about like original ideas that they've had. You look at like what they were supposed to do, what they were originally going to do. Um, well, actually, long story short, Pamela Voorhees was actually going to be like the main. She was going to be like the main like killer in the whole franchise. Like she was going to be the main like killer. But they decided not to do that, I guess, and they decided to add, Jason to it. Um, but yeah, Pamela Voorhees was going to be the main villain in the whole like entire franchise originally. And then obviously they obviously changed that. So, but yeah, she was going to be like the original like villain, which is interesting. And I actually heard too that the film wasn't going to be called Friday the 13th. I heard that it was going to be called Summer Camp, which that's what I originally heard, anyways. Then they changed it to Friday the 13th shortly after. But that would have been interesting. They called it Summer Camp. That would have been interesting. But obviously, they didn't like the idea, so they changed it to Friday the 13th. But yeah, there's a lot of I like Jason's look. I'm glad that they changed it. I'm glad that they went with the hockey mask because I feel like the hockey mask is just overall it just overall looks better in my opinion. Even though yeah, I wouldn't have minded if they had like decided to have the bag over his head, which I wouldn't have minded that, but But I just think the hockey mask is overall like the hockey mask is just iconic, you know. And I think that the fact that they changed it, I think they made the right decision because I just think it's overall it just looks better, you know, with the whatever suit he's wearing, it just looks a lot better. Like um but yeah, Jason's just an iconic character. And you know, I always thought that Jason's like main weapon was just the machete, but it actually wasn't. When I was like a kid, like I always thought that Jason always used the machete, but he actually used different weapons, like multiple weapons. He used like axes. He's used, um, and he's used multiple weapons, mostly axes and obviously machete. I think the machete was like that came in obviously part seven, but I think he had that big like that long stick and in part I think it was part six with CJ Graham. But I don't know what they call that weapon. But anyways, yeah. So they I mean he didn't just have one specific weapon. Like he had multiple. Like he had axes. I mean he even had I think he even had like throwing knives too, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe as I'm just thinking. But yeah, he just had like he didn't have one specific weapon. He's had multiple. Um which is crazy because you know, when I was a kid, I used to think that he only had one weapon, you know, but wasn't the case. So yeah, there's just a lot of things, and you know that you don't really think about when you get older. You know, you always think that they always have just one weapon, or because everybody. That's basically all they were like. Let's just say because I used to dress up as Jason and you know during Halloween. Well, they've always had like the machetes, like the plastic machetes. So I always thought that was like his actual weapon, but no, he's actually had multiple. Like he's had axes. He's even had like a screwdriver. I'm pretty sure, but he's mostly had like axes. Like, and then he had that like that long stick or whatever. Um, I'm gonna have to look and see what that weapon is called, but I think it is called. I don't even know. Like, it's just like that long black stick. Oh, he used like a part of like the fence. That's what it is. So it's basically like he used a fence post as a spear. So he used the fence post as a spear. Um, that's what it's called. Caught like a spear. But yeah, he's used many weapons. You know, it's not just one specific weapon. Um, but yeah, overall, I think the Friday the 13th franchise is pretty good. I think it's a good franchise. I just think that obviously there's one some films that I don't like. Like Part 5 is okay, I guess. Like, I mean, that's an okay film. And obviously, you guys know that Jason Goes to Hell, I think, is the worst. Even though I do like the soundtrack and I do like the kills somewhat, and obviously the ending with Freddy's glove. But other than that, I don't like. Of course, I don't like that film. But overall, I think it's a great franchise. You know, I think there's only one film that I don't like, and that's Jason Goes to Hell, which a lot of people say that Friday the 13th Part 5 is probably the worst, like one of the worst as well, just because of Jason's look, which I kind of agree with that because I mean Jason's look kind of didn't really look right to me, but honestly I didn't really mind it. You know, I didn't mind it. All that really counts is that Jason was in the film. So yeah, I did not mind that at all. I didn't mind that that he had that jumpsuit or whatever. Obviously he had like those scissors or whatever, that big ass um I don't know what you call those, that weapon. What weapon did Jason use in part 5? So weapon, shears. I don't know what that is. And then obviously strength, throwing knives. Yep, he's had throwing knives before. It's basically like a big I guess it's like a farming weapon in a way. Something that you probably like cut like logs with. Um which I can't really explain, but he had that one weapon kind of looked like I just can't really think of the name, but I think you cut wood with it. But anyways, so yeah, so he's had multiple weapons. He's just had like he hasn't had just one. But anyways, I think Friday the 13th as a whole is overall great franchise. I think it's all the films are pretty entertaining. Part 1, of course, is always going to be like the best, even though like that Jason wasn't in that film yet, like he wasn't introduced until part 2. Um, but that film's always going to be like the best. And then overall, it's just a great franchise. I think, even though there's a couple films that I don't like, as obviously, or I would say one film is obviously Jason Goes to Hell, which, but I do like the soundtrack. I do like the ending, and I do like the kills. That's basically it. Um, but overall, it's a great franchise. It's definitely an entertaining franchise. A lot of people may even say that's more entertaining than it may be more entertaining than even the Halloween franchise, which I tend to agree with that. I think that it's definitely one of definitely think that it is like more entertaining, but as a franchise, I don't really know if I could put it in front of Halloween, because I think that Halloween is always going to be like the best. I personally I prefer Halloween over the Friday the 13th films, but I do find Friday the 13th to be more like entertaining. So, but overall, I think it's a great franchise. There's not a single like bad film. There's only maybe one bad film in the franchise that I don't like. Um, and then obviously you have the Halloween franchise, which I always compare, Jason Goes to Hell and Halloween 3 a lot. Um, because I just think that they're like kind of similar. Like I think they're similar films. And I think obviously that was the worst Halloween film, and then obviously Jason Goes to Hell is the worst Friday the 13th film. So they're kind of like similar. They're similar because obviously the Halloween 3 didn't have Michael Myers in it at all, but I guess Jason Goes to Hell is probably a little better than that film because at least you get to see the character, as I was saying. But I don't know why I always compare them to. Like I just think they're very similar films. Like they're just not that enjoyable. Well, I think Jason Goes to Hell is enjoyable. I personally just don't think that it's. I don't think it's a Friday the 13th film. That's the only thing. But other than that, yeah, I always compare them to films. I always compare Halloween 3 and Jason Goes to Hell for some reason. I just feel like they're both like similar films in a lot of ways. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of the thing about Friday the 13th is that we have not had a film since 2009, which kind of sucks. So I really, really, really I want to see Jason back on the big screen. Um, because the only films that we really gotten was obviously Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Scream, Halloween, of course. But the only ones that I've noticed, obviously the ones that haven't made the big screen in a while, is obviously Nightmare on Elm Street and also a Freddy Krueger and Jason. Like those are the two. main ones that haven't made the big screen in a long time. Um, Nightmare on Elm Street is, I guess, Nightmare on Elm Street is one of those. I think there was like a lawsuit with that as well, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't really remember. But I think that there was a lawsuit with that film. So I think that's why that film hasn't been, why we haven't got another Nightmare as well, because of, I think there was like a rights issue. Okay, what happened was, I think something happened with like the Will Smith thing. I don't remember if you guys know, but I don't know if you guys know, but there was a incident where he was like, I guess like making, I think he like stole like this, I forgot what it was. He made like a rap song called Nightmare on my Street or something. So basically he made like a rap song, and I think he got like sued for that. Either he got sued or I forget. But I don't know if that has any like, I don't know if that's like the main problem though. Like I don't know if that's like the main issue with the film and why it hasn't been around in a while. Let me put some music on while I'm talking, I guess. There we go. We got some music in the background. But yeah, I don't really know, like, again, like what's like going on with all that. Like I don't know if that's because of the like I don't know if that had anything to do with the Wills. Like I don't know if it had anything to do with that song. But I do know that supposedly there was a lawsuit with that franchise as well, which is interesting. But I do, again, I don't know 100% if that's why. If that's necessarily like why they quit making the films, is because of the song. But I do know that I think Will Smith got in trouble for making that song. I think because he basically like stole like the right. I forget what it was. So yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know 100% about any of that, but yeah. So that was basically like the thing. Like so, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street had lawsuits, which is why they haven't made the big screen. Which I'm not a big fan again of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, but that's just like my not like what I've heard. So But yeah, so I'm really really excited to see how this like TV series goes because obviously, man, it's just been too long without a Friday the 13th film. It's been long overdue. 15 years, man. 15 years without a Friday the 13th film. Now I'm not sure if they're actually going to be making a TV series or not. Like, okay, there's obviously rumors that, of course, okay, there is going to be a TV series, I think, but there's really not any like news that we've gotten. We haven't got any news about like when it's actually going to release or anything like that. So it's just kind of one of those weird things. Like they always say that we've only heard that it was supposed. So originally it's supposed to come out 2023, but then now it got pushed back. It got pushed back to 2024. But now everyone's saying that it's not going to be released until 2025 now, which is kind of. I think it's kind of weird that now they're all of a sudden saying that. So they basically keep pushing it back. They keep saying it's going to be released in 2024, 2025. And they keep on like, we haven't got any news. All we've heard is like rumors at this point. So I really don't know which is true. But I will tell you that, I'm really excited. Really excited to see, for the film. Or for the TV series, if it does happen, of course. Which I do think that it is going to happen, personally. Like, I just think that, I don't know, like everything right now is just, seems like it's all just rumors. They keep on wanting to like push it back, They don't want to stick with one release date. So I have no idea like what to believe. But you guys do know that I was just saying that if I had to pick a storyline that I want in a Friday the 13th film or even just a TV series, more or less just like a film, right? I think that the more like the storyline that I would want to see is obviously probably like I was saying that Tommy Jarvis. I want to see Tommy Jarvis versus Jason. I want to see a Tommy Jarvis versus Jason storyline. If we get it like a film, which that's probably like after that's gonna be like after the TV series. If the TV series obviously comes out, which I think it is. I think that they are gonna make. I mean, who really knows at this point? I'm just confused. Like I don't know what's true and what's not. But I do want a Tommy Jarvis versus Jason storyline. That's what I want. And the reason why, again, is just because I feel like it would be a great storyline. And you could even call it Jason. You could even call it Jason versus Tommy Jarvis. I don't really care. I mean, I like that. If they did like a potential like film, which I do think that they will make a film, but it's just a matter of when. It's a matter of when when they'll make the film. But yeah, if I was a director, I would do that. I would definitely make. So I would do a Tommy Jarvis versus Jason storyline. That's what I would do if I was a director. I think that storyline, personally, I think that would be interesting to see. Seeing them like fight each other throughout the whole film, kind of similar to what to say. They keep on like, and I'm not saying just to make it just about them two or anything, because that wouldn't be a good film. I don't feel, but you can make it like a Friday the 13th film. All I'm saying is that I want to see a fight between them two, and you can still call it Jason versus Tommy Jarvis if you want, and like make it a Friday the 13th film. You know, do the obviously had like make it like a normal Friday the 13th film, but like add like a whole bunch of fight scenes between him and Jason. Like, that's what I want to see. That's just my personal preference right now. If I had to choose what storyline I want to see Tommy Jarvis versus Jason. Like, that's probably the main like storyline. I just think it would be interesting, you know. And even if they wanted to go back and tell us like a lot more about Pamela Voorhees, like Val was just saying, like if they just go back and tell us like, give us like a backstory about like Pamela Voorhees and Elias, because we don't really know anything about Elias. Other than that, he's Jason's dad. Like, that's really the only thing. Which Elias Voorhees is, Elias Voorhees was actually in a fan film called Vengeance or whatever. And obviously CJ Graham, which is kind of crazy. That CJ Graham was the one that played Elias Voorhees. So I think he was playing Jason while playing Elias Voorhees. So he's basically like doing both. Like, so I don't know how they do that. I think they do obviously like good camera work, I think. Like how they have like two, like if CJ Graham was playing Jason, how are they able to have him play like another role at the same time? Well, I think they do that. I think that's like camera, like computers and whatnot, and how they do that, like how they do all that. But yeah, we don't know anything, like I was saying, about Elias Voorhees. The only thing that we know is that obviously he's Jason's father. And other than that, we don't know like his backstory or anything. Same with Pamela. Like, so something that I would like to like see in this TV series. Like, if they were something that I would like to like, something like that I would like to know. Like, just give us like a backstory about them two characters. Obviously, because we don't know anything about them, so I'm just very, very interested, guys. Like, I really want to. I want Jason back on the big screen. It's been long overdue. But yeah, Jason, there's just so many things that you could do, you know. Um, Now, another thing that I would want is I would want CJ, not CJ Graham. I would want Kane Hodder to play. I would want Kane Hodder to play. Obviously, I would want him back to play Jason again. That's just my personal like. I like CJ Graham. You know, he was a good stunt, like he did a good job playing Jason. But if I had to pick an actor that I want to see back, that is Kane Hodder, 100%. Like, he's probably like the number one actor that I want to see. I want to see him return because I just feel like he just does such a great job. You know, just the intensity that he brings to the role of Jason. You know, like he's got that intensity that I like. That's what makes him, I think, better than like everyone. Like, makes him like, to me, like the best Jason. Now, if he was gonna do like something else, like let's say, which there's been a lot of rumors that he's gonna play like okay, so he wants to play. Supposedly, he wants to play Michael Myers, which, I mean, that's not really surprising because obviously he's never got to play Michael Myers before. He's only ever played like Jason. He's only ever played Leatherface, of course. Other than that, he's never played Michael Myers. And that's basically like his dream job. You know, he wants to play Michael Myers, which, I mean, I don't blame him for that because, I mean, he's never played him. So, but I definitely want him back. I want him back as Jason. Like, even if it's in the TV series, I don't really care. Or in a real film. Like, and I'm pretty sure he would be willing to do it. I'm 100% certain that he would be willing to do it. If you give him the right amount of money and whatnot, I'm pretty sure that he will do it. $100%. because he's always loved, doing stunt work for Jason, So I don't think that he would ever like turn that down. Like if they offered him to do Return. But yeah, that's not really surprising that he wants to play Michael Myers because again, he just never. That's the out of all the horror villains that he's played, that's the one horror villain that he's never got to play. So that makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's played. Okay, so he's played Leatherface. He has played obviously Jason. Obviously Victor Crowley, of course. And then obviously there's another one that I remember. It's a movie called Toe, which he was basically like a killer in that movie, but which that movie was really good. But yeah, the only horror villain that he never played again was Michael Myers. That's the only one, and that's the one that he wants to play like bad. Like that's his, I guess, his dream job. Which I could understand that. That makes a lot of sense because if you played like every other villain, you haven't played one like obviously Michael Myers, then of course that'd be my dream as well. Of course, those are just like rumors that that he'd be playing. That he wants to play Michael Myers, but we don't know 100% if he will or not. But it's definitely something that I would like to see. But yeah, I think Kane Hodder needs to return. Even if it's in a film, I don't really mind, like either or. He could return in the film, he could return in the TV series. I don't really mind. But I definitely want to see him back in a Friday the 13th film. What 100%. Like I personally just don't think, and I know I sound crazy saying it, but I don't think that anybody is better than Kane Hodder in terms of like the intensity that he brings. Like, and I hate saying that. I like CJ Graham, he's probably my other favorite, stuntman. But Kane Hodder just has that intensity that makes him different from the other actors, like that I like. This dude's done so many stunt work in his career. And doing stunt work is not easy. You're definitely risking a lot, You're risking injury, number one. Number two, you're risking, it's a dangerous thing to do because you got to do a lot of stuff. There's been a lot of stuntmen that get injured, doing a lot of things. Like, okay, so Kane Hodder basically So he did like I think it was for the video game, for the Friday the 13th, the video game. He was doing like that sleeping bag kill, I believe. Well, I guess he like broke it. I think he broke his arm or something during that. But he just kept on going, and just slamming it. Like, the stuff like that is what I'm talking about. Just like the intensity that he brings, you know? Like, even with the broken arm, he was still willing to keep on like working, you know? Which is, I think it was a broken arm anyways. I know he did have an injury during that time. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the film. Maybe I'm thinking of Friday the 13th Part 7 when he was doing stunt work. So basically, what happened was, but I think he also got injured when he was doing stunt work for the game too, and I don't remember, but anyways, he was like, so in Part 7, they did like a scene where they had to, obviously they lit him on fire or whatever, and he obviously had like protection, of course, you know, but they lit him on fire, right? Well, he actually got burned, like for real, in that scene, because they literally had to set him on fire, but they had like certain like material on, you know. But yeah, I heard that he got burned from that. Like, he really got burned, which that's just crazy. Like, yeah, so it says early in his career, during an interview, Hyder offered to show the interviewer and their cameraman a fire stunt, and it went horribly wrong, leaving him with second and third degree burns over much of his upper body. So he had second and third degree burns over his upper body because, and I think they're talking about when they had to light him on fire in that scene in Part 7. Which people just don't really realize, like, how dangerous, you know, doing stunts is. Like, doing stunt work like that, that's, you know, basically they're putting their lives on the line, you know, like, because they're basically got to do a lot of stuff, like the lighting on fire and all that, like, for a certain scene. But there is obviously protection, of course, like certain like material that they put. But that's crazy still, like, to think, like, all that, just like it be like getting burnt like that for like a scene. Which, okay, yeah, he had protection, but he actually got burnt it was by accident. My gosh. But yeah, people just don't understand, like, how dangerous that is. Even like jumping off of like jumping out of windows and stuff. Like there's a lot of stuntmen that had to do that kind of stuff. They had to jump out of windows, and yep, okay, yep, I was right. So he also got injured during Friday the 13th, the Friday the 13th game, a mocap session that he was doing, of course, doing like moves, different moves, for like the kills or whatever. Well, yeah, he got injured. And yeah, he kept on going, man. He just kept on. Yeah, he didn't give up. And even though he was like hurt, which is crazy. Like that's the thing I'm talking about. Like, I mean, stunt work is not easy. I mean, people get hurt all the time. That's just the way it is. And when you're in the stunt business like that, you're basically risking like your life. Basically suffering injury, suffering all that, do a lot of crazy stuff. Like I was saying, like that scene in part 7 when he had to light him on fire. I mean, that's crazy. Even though he had like overall like protection and certain like materials, of course, that's still crazy though to think. Like for that scene that he had to legitimately get lit on fire. That's what I'm saying. That it's just like the intensity that he brings. It's just like physicality, that he brings. Really to any role that he plays. Not just Jason, but other roles too. Like, I feel like if he played Michael Myers, he would be just as good. Like, he would be really intense. Obviously, have that physicality or whatever. So or wait, maybe he didn't get injured from that. No, he did not get injured from that from part 7. But they did have to light him on fire though for that scene. So a good portion of his body was burned badly, and and shot during the late 1970s. He suffered third-degree burns in 50% of his body. Among his contributions to the Jason Voorhees character, Kane said that Jason should never have to run after his victims, nor would he hurt children and animals. That's a good point. So in the early 1970s, good portion of his body was burned badly, like during like a stunt that he was doing. That's crazy. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they had to light him on fire in part 7, that's crazy. Because you just think about, even though he had protection and whatnot, like that's just the thought of that still. And that's crazy. So yeah, doing stunt work is not easy. It's probably like the most dangerous thing that you can do, because you're risking injury, number one. Number two, you're risking injury like big time, because again, you have to do a lot. And even though I think Jason is probably like an easier character to play because he really doesn't have to do that much, you know, he just basically like walks. Still though, like stuff like, you know, the fact that they had to light him on fire, as I was saying, for that specific scene, like that's, to me, that's insane. Even though, yeah, he had like certain like material on his body that like protection or whatever they do. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, the fact that they had to light him on fire for that scene, like in part 7, that's nuts. It's crazy. But yeah, there's definitely like the Ghostface character. I think the Ghostface character is a lot harder to do. I think it's like more dangerous, and the reason why is because you're basically like jumping over. You basically have to run a lot. You have to jump over a lot of stuff. You know. I just feel like that's the most like dangerous, just because, you know, you have to run, and you know you're not walking, you like legitimately have to run the whole time, and you're basically jumping over like tables and you know. I mean, you got to do a lot, and like stunt work. But I think out of all the characters, I think that Jason and Michael Myers are probably like the hardest or the easiest, because you really don't have to do that much, you know? You basically just walk around, chase people. You don't run around or anything, like. So I feel like that's a little bit harder. I think playing Ghostface is harder. it would be harder because you have to do so many things. You're basically jumping over things and stuff, you know, falling downstairs. Um, and even if Ghostface was a supernatural killer, like Jason and Michael Myers, I think that Jason, or I think that Michael, or I think that it still wouldn't make a difference with Ghostface. Like it would still be hard because you'd still have to run. But yeah, there's so many things that I mean, people do a lot of stuff, a lot of stunt work, you know. But I'm just saying, like, it's just dangerous. And you got to thank them for what they do for us, the audience, because they're trying to entertain us, which they basically risk their lives for us, like more than anything. Because the things that they do, like I've heard that some people had to like jump out of windows and whatnot, like legit. It's crazy, man. You're literally risking like your own life. I mean, it's certainly not an easy thing, like to do, or like, but there's just so many things that you have to do. Again, but we always got to thank all the people that do that kind of stuff to, you know, basically for entertainment, you know, for everyone, like movies and whatnot. They're all like entertainment, so. But yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna call the stream here in a little bit. Been going for at least a couple hours now. Going out 3 hours. But yeah, there's just so many things. And you gotta think too, like any stuntman really, like even Robert Englund and whatnot. Like he had to do a lot of stuff. A lot of stunt work, I'm pretty sure, like risking like injury. You know? And there's so many things that you have to do. Even for like a video game, even, you know, what's to say like for like any kind of video game, like it doesn't have to be a horror video game, like Friday the 13th or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like they're still kind of doing a lot of stuff. No, you're not really doing as much, I guess, because you know you're not really doing a movie, but still, you're still doing a lot. Still risking a lot of injury, and because you're doing certain like moves. So it is kind of hard, like if you think about it. But it's definitely not. Definitely got to thank the actors for for doing that for the audience. I do think that Ghostface though is the hardest. Like out of all of them, and probably Freddy Krueger, I would say too. It's probably hard. But I think the Ghostface character is probably the hardest because you do got to jump over, like I was saying, a lot of tables, and you're basically like running the whole time. So, and plus it's got to be like hot under that mask, especially like running around. But yeah, man, I think out of all the horror villains, and yeah, I do consider Ghostface to be a horror villain still. So, but out of all the horror villains, I think that Freddy Krueger and Ghostface are probably the hardest. Just because, again, you just have to do something, like you have to run. You have to jump over like tables and, well, Ghostface anyways, the Ghostface character has to basically does that. Like you have to like do like crazy stuff. Kind of like in Scream 3 when stuntman, I forget his name, the stuntman for Scream 3, but he got thrown off of the I don't know what, I forget his name though, the stuntman. But you guys remember when he got thrown off of that thing and he like landed on the bed or whatever? Well, that's still dangerous. Because you're basically like flying. You're like, but yeah, the Friday the 13th film, overall, I think it's a great franchise. There's a lot of films that I don't like, of course, as I was saying. Or there's probably like one film that I don't care for, and that's Jason Takes Manhattan. Other than that, I think it's a overall great franchise. Really enjoy it a lot. obviously Friday the 13th. I think Friday the 13th is the more entertaining franchise. Like Halloween, again, is I prefer that a little bit more, but overall, it's a more Friday the 13th is just more entertaining. But man, I'm just really excited. Like, I hope people keep on continuing making like fan films because I really enjoy. I enjoy those like Vengeance and Vengeance 2. Even Jason Takes a Hike, which that one's a really good one. I mean, they do such a great job with these films. And if we could keep on getting those, I'd be okay with it. You know, I'd be fine with that. As long as we could keep on getting, great films. And keep on doing what you're doing, like these young filmmakers, they just do such a great job, I think. Now, my main concern for Friday the 13th is that they're going to that's basically not going to be creative or anything like that. Like, if they make another Friday the 13th film, I hope they don't like try to copy like Halloween, what Halloween did, like what they did like Halloween. Obviously, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. Like, I hope they don't do anything like that, like where they call it like Friday the 13th, like Kills or something. Like, I really don't want that. If they decide to make a film in the future, I don't want to see that, because just, to me, that's just, uncreative, and you're basically copying. You're doing the same thing that Halloween was doing, which I don't like. Which you guys already know, I didn't like Halloween Ends. Didn't like Halloween Kills either. Which I do think that Halloween Kills was a little better, but that's basically like my only worry with Friday the 13th is that they're going to try to do that, like try to basically not have any creativity in it, which a lot of movies nowadays sadly don't have any creativity anymore, which is sad. Just sad to say, because back a long time ago in the early 2000s, that's the era that I grew up in. So I obviously was born in 1998, and back in the early 2000s, movies were still really good during that time. I mean, movies were still on fire. Like people don't understand, like that was like a good era. So I feel like I grew up in a great, in a great era with good films, but nowadays it's just films are just so uncreative because they want to like rush everything. They want to, they don't want to take their time with it, which is the reason why the movies end up being bad, is because, and I think that's what happened with Halloween Kills or Halloween Ends. They didn't take their time with it. They basically run out of ideas. They ran out of ideas, and it seemed like they were just trying to rush the film. But that's mostly my problem with today's movies. They don't really take their time with. They don't take their time with the film. Like, everybody just wants to rush everything, and that's not the way to go. If you want to make a great film, you got to take your time. with it. But that's just what I feel like today about movies. That's just my opinion. And of course, I'm still going to always go watch, say, like a Halloween, a Scream film. Because obviously, I'm a big fan of those films, Same with Friday the 13th. If Friday the 13th ends up being, like, bad or something, like Halloween Ends was, well, I'm sorry. I still got to go watch it. I'm still going to, buy it in DVD because obviously I'm a fan of slasher films. And I've always have been, no matter how bad they can be. Like, I still gotta go watch it because it's hard to resist, Like, but yeah, films today are just not the same as they used to be. Like, I could tell you that, like, when I grew up in the early 2000s, like, movies were so different. Especially, like, horror movies, slasher films, They were so different back in those days. But now they're just like, everything's just so rushed, as I was saying. Everything's so rushed. Everybody wants to hurry up and make a film and just, like, be done with it. Like, that's not the way to do it. Like, if you're going to make a good film, you got to take your time. And I just feel like everybody just rushes nowadays. Like Halloween Ends, again, that film was rushed. I mean, I know that. And the reason why I know that is because it was just so bad. Like, I mean, Michael Myers just had basically like a partner in that whole film, and I just knew that film, I knew it was rushed. Like, so you kind of know when a movie's like rushed, because people tend to like run out of ideas, and that's kind of like the thing, like the common thing now, like everyone just runs out of ideas and then they just keep doing the same old things over and over. Like, that's just the way it is, I think, anyways. It's kind of sad to see, because movies back in my day were just so much better, so much more creative. Everything about them back in my day were just so creative, so, like, they took their time with it. Great character development, So I could say that I grew up in a good era, with good movies. And good video games too. Like, even going back to video games, because you guys all know that I'm a gamer, but even going back to video games, I'm not. The video games today are just not the same as they used to be when I grew up in the early 2000s. Like, they're just not. They're not the same that they used to be. They're way, way different now. Like, they're not, obviously, they're always it's kind of similar to movies. Like, they just don't want to take their time with them now, It's just like everything's just rushed. So, I don't know, it's just kind of crazy that even music, because obviously you guys know that I'm a big rap fan, of course. Well, I've always I grew up, I like West Coast rap. So my favorite rapper obviously is I like Tupac. Like, Tupac's my favorite rapper, right? Well, rap is today is just not the same, you know, and just music in general just isn't the same as it used to be. Everybody's just not creative, you know. Nobody, I don't know. That's just my opinion on that. Like, yeah, like music today just isn't the same. Movies, gaming, whatever it is, it's just like everything is just like so bad nowadays, you know. It's crazy though, because you would think with all the new technology that we have, you would think that video games and movies and whatnot, music, you think that it would be a lot better than you know. You'd think it'd be a lot better now, but instead it's like the opposite. Like it's worse, which I don't know. It's crazy. like as you guys know too, like I'm a big gamer. My favorite franchise of all time is the Call of Duty franchise, which Call of Duty has been my favorite game since. And sorry for getting off topic here, but Call of Duty has been the same. Where Call of Duty has, you know, back in my day when I used to play it, like it was just so much better. But like now it's just like so different. It's not the same, you know. It's just like they don't take their time with it. You know, they just keep on adding the same old stuff in there, you know. But back in my day when I used to play like Call of Duty, it was absolutely just on fire. Like the Black Ops series, which the Black Ops series is probably like one of the best, if not the best franchise in the whole Call of Duty. Like I think the Black Ops franchise is like the best. I'd pick that over, you know, Modern Warfare personally. But yeah, like Call of Duty nowadays just isn't. It's not the same anymore like it used to be. It's just uncreative. Like everything's just so rushed. Like they keep on adding like the same like skins and weird skins now. Like, so I obviously, sorry guys, I don't mean to get off topic here, but I got Modern Warfare 3, right? And Modern Warfare 3 is not, I mean, it's a good game, and I think it's the best like gameplay like since probably like going back to Black Ops 2. Like, is it better than Black Ops 2? No, it isn't. It's not even in the same universe as Black Ops 2, but it is still like gameplay wise, I think it's still like one of the best. Like, but it's also not perfect either. Like there's a lot of like just the spawns, always like the spawns. I have an issue with like the spawns, you know. I have issue with like everything like that, this wall bangs, whatever. Like I guess you could kill somebody through like the wall now, which is kind of unrealistic in a way, but that's just the world of Call of Duty, you know? Like everybody doesn't play it as like they used to, you know? Everybody like camps. Everybody just always wants to like camp and stay in one spot the whole time. Which, again, back in the day, it was never like that. Everybody used to like run around. But nowadays, everybody just wants to stay in one spot, which is annoying. You know, that's just the way Call of Duty is today. You know, sadly, as a Call of Duty fan, that's just the way it is. You know. But obviously, I still play it because, you know, it's a Call of Duty game. You know, I can't resist. I can't just not play it. You know what I mean? So, it's like with the movie. Even though a movie could be bad, like I said, like Scream. Like Scream hasn't been the greatest. And same with, you know, the Halloween franchise, like Halloween Kills and Ends. Like those movies weren't great, but I still had to go watch them because, of course, you know, I've always been a fan of those films. And I can't just not go watch it, you know what I mean? Like, and I do collect, obviously I do collect all the films as well, as I was saying. So even though they're bad, I know Halloween Kills is bad. Halloween Ends, I know that's bad, but I want to collect all the films. But back to the Call of Duty thing real fast is that, you know, I mean, if people want to play Call of Duty like that, I mean, that's their choice. At the end of the day, you know, if they want to like camp the whole game and not run around, you know, I guess that's their preference. That's the way they want to play the game, and I can't sit there and blame them and like crap on them for that because that's just the way they like to play, I guess. But personally, I just don't find that fun. That's the only thing. I don't find that fun. I like it better when everybody runs around, you know? Like, I mean, you have a right. Everybody has a right to play the game the way they want to play it. But that's not the way that I want to play it. I want to be able to run around, you know, because it's funner like that to run around. Like I just don't find any fun in that. Like I don't find any fun in staying in one spot the whole game. Like, you know. But anyways, going back to obviously the Friday the 13th franchise, getting back to horror now, not gaming. We're gonna stick to horror, obviously Friday the 13th, but sorry for changing the topic there, but. But yeah, I mean, so that's basically just my fear about Friday the 13th. You know, like, are they gonna like take their time with it, or are they gonna rush it? You know, because that's the way modern movies are today. That's just the way movies are today. You know, just think that Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that film, was to me an absolute disaster. Wasn't a good film in my opinion. Then you had another, obviously Halloween Ends, Halloween Kills, which weren't good. Scream 5 wasn't good at all. Scream 6 was a little better, but still not perfect. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that. Of course, I got to go see it still in theaters because obviously I'm a fan of those films. But I just wish there was more like creativity and not, that's the only thing. It just seems like everybody's just so like, they just rush everything, Like, and that's kind of like my fear with Friday the 13th is that they're going to do something like to where they maybe like change the mask or something like which that's not going to work if they decide to do that. Like, that's just not going to work. Like, if you change the mask, I'm not going to be a fan of that. Nobody else is going to be a fan of that either. Because the hockey mask has always been like, it's always been his main mask. It's iconic. There's no reason why you should change it, But that's kind of like my worry about just the Friday the 13th franchise is because, movies today are just not as good. As I was saying, they're just not as creative. I just hope it's not going to be like Halloween Kills or Ends, like if they end up, make it another Friday the 13th, which, hey, that's just a part of movies today, though. I mean, a lot of the movies today are just not as creative. So, but yeah, that's kind of like my worry, I guess, about Friday the 13th. It's just my worry is that they're gonna do something to where they change the mask, or or they just have like Jason has like a partner or something like that. Like, I don't want to see any of that. Because Jason doesn't have a partner. He's always done the killings on his own. Same with Michael Myers. Like Michael Myers has always done the killings on his own. He's never had a partner. Never. But apparently he did in Halloween Ends. Apparently he had a partner that basically was helping him kill, which was the main issue that I have with Halloween Ends. And also just the Corey Cunningham character. Like, so that's basically just like, I guess, like my worry that they're gonna do something like that. Like, they're gonna make have Jason have like a partner or something, which I really hope not, man. Because Jason does not need a partner. Jason's always done the killings on his own. But today's world of movies, you shouldn't be surprised by if they do anything like that, because that's just the way movies are. I mean, but this is basically, I guess, like my worry, But anyways, guys, I think I'm gonna call tonight here. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe button. Thank you to all. Thank you all for. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Obviously, Val and Scott Walker. It was definitely good to see Val in the chat. I haven't seen her in the chat in a while. It was good to see her. But yeah, I appreciate all you guys for all the support. I am gonna call the night here though. Be sure to look out for my stream tomorrow night. Obviously, we're gonna be doing another horror stream as we usually do. So be sure to join me for that as well if you get a chance. But on that note, everyone, be sure to hit the like button, as I was saying. Comment down below. I would appreciate it though if you could hit the like button for me. That would help the channel a lot. Other than that, guys, on that note, peace out and see you guys tomorrow. Good night, everyone.